Hello everyone and welcome to Claret and Booze. My name's Nick. I'm going to keep the intro short because we've got quite a few videos for you to all flick through. This is basically a video that we've created in memory of Upton Park. It's 7 years to the day that we left that wonderful place. So I've got my one in there as well. I'll leave my one to the end. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it all. Let us know in the comments as well. Let us know in the comments, you know, your sort of prevailing memories from Upton Park. I mean, I'm sure, like us, there's so many, and it's so difficult to pick one. But yeah, special place. And yeah, here we go. Hope you enjoy the video anyway.
Evening, Nick, Gary and John, and all your Claret and Boozers out there. Just a quick one on memories. I could sit up and talk all night about Upton Park, about the bowling ground, about the memories I've got of that place. You know, some fantastic nights, fantastic days, some real shit ones as well. But look, for me, it's still I still miss the day, the whole day getting down there. You know, the places you drank in, the people I used to drink with and, you know, bump into, you know, sadly don't go much anymore. Some, you know, not even with us anymore, which is you know, which is sad. And it's, you know, a big part of my life, big part of all of our lives that, you know, is since gone. You know, that walk to the ground down Dogshit Alley, full of anticipation with, you know, with your mates and like-minded people, and that walk back, not more often than not dejected, but, you know, you were still heading to the pub, you know, for a couple of beers, and it was soon forgotten. You know, the Vic would ramp up the music and have a disco on, and, you know, you would just, it was just a fucking great place, you know, great community. And yeah, I miss it a lot. I do, honestly, I miss it dearly. But look, looking forward to listening to your memories tonight. So yeah, I'm going to enjoy that later. All right, cheers guys. Come on, you irons.
Hello there, and welcome to my memories of Upton Park. Now, you know, there's so many memories to choose from, and there's so many things to miss about the old place. You know, the walk along Green Street from Upton Park, the smell of the burger vans, the fanzines, people selling the pin badges, just everything about it. But when I think about Upton Park, most of the games that really resonate with me, games that really stick in the memory, always seem to be night games, under the lights at Upton Park. It's been said a million times before, but there definitely was something special about playing under the lights at Upton Park. You know, when we beat Everton 2-1 in the FA Cup, when we was a Division 2 team, they was Division 1, Stuart Slater, Colin Foster. The Ipswich playoff game, fantastic atmosphere, the whole place was rocking. You know, I used to love the Anglo-Italian matches. We played Pisa one time, and you know, them competitions were, you know, the ground was up. The ground was like 25% full, but I loved it. I loved the night games, especially over there. And one game that really sticks in the memory is a game that's probably not famous or probably not thought of by many, but it was one that I really enjoyed. I used to always stand in the same place on the North Bank with my friend Barry Murphy. If you're watching, get in touch. Been about 25 years. A game, it was under Lou Macari, 1990, and we was Division 2 at the time, and it was a cold night, and we was playing Sunderland, and we thought it was going to be a very tough game, but we won 5-0, and I remember that night thinking, wow, we're amazing. I was about 11 at the time. Every goal we scored that night was a worldie, starting with Martin Allen's left foot place shot into the bottom left hand corner of the goalkeeper's net, right hand corner as the goalkeeper stands. Then we had an absolute Route 1 goal where Ludek McCloskey booted it out of his hands. It fell to Eamon Dolan, who flicked it on to Stuart Slater, who brought it down on his chest and on the volley in one movement put it top bins. We then had a goal where the ball got fed through to Kevin Keane. He nicked it round the goalkeeper, but he knocked it too far, and he knocked the ball sort of aiming towards the corner flag and where the byline. Keeper's off his line. He's managed to swivel right-footed placed it not only over the goalkeeper who's tracking back, but also over the defender's head who was on the line into the far left-hand corner. Another fantastic goal. But the next two goals were goals that sort of epitomised what it was to be West Ham at that time. I just felt it was a lot of fun. You know, people say that you enjoy football when you're a kid, but I love these. I love this era. Eamon Dolan, who didn't have a fantastic career at West Ham, but he scored two really good goals, and it capped a fantastic 5-0 win on the night for West Ham. But what I remember about that night, not only the goals from all the players who I've mentioned, but the way that Eamon Dolan, a young kid, celebrated his goals. He celebrated with an Irish jig stroke ballet pirouette, but the look of joy on his face really resonated with me. And I sort of almost forgot about this game until I went to West Ham's pre-season friendly against Reading this season, the start of this season. Because when I went to the Reading Stadium, the Jet Ski Stadium as it's known, I believe, or something else now, one of the stands is actually named after Eamon Dolan, because obviously, unfortunately, Eamon Dolan passed away some time ago after a battle with cancer, and they've named the stadium. They named the stand after him because he was their academy manager for a long time. So, you know, it just goes to show that not only are players remembered and grounds remembered, nights are remembered. But that was a game for me that, you know, I could have picked so many, but that was one for me because a little bit obscure. But I really remember thinking, at the age of 11, I was no expert, obviously, cool, Eamon Dolan's got a bright future. Unfortunately, he moved on to Birmingham and didn't really have a career of any note. And God rest his soul, he obviously passed away at a very young age, I think in his late 40s or something. But that was a night that I really remember at Upton Park. As I say, there were so many to choose from, and they were always under the lights. I'll never forget it.
So 7 years since we left Upton Park. So many memories come flooding back when the anniversaries come up. Gary from Olas stood up on the steps every week selling, you know, Overland and Sea. And he'd been doing that for about 20 years before he packed it in when we left Upton Park. Always a good central meeting point for me to meet my friends, see Kelvin, people that I knew there, and still see at the London Stadium now. Unfortunately, not Gary. Gary doesn't go anymore. Around the back, with the away fans and the bus station, the road down there was a nice burger shed that served burgers in the baguette and everything. Terminator, the Bonzo, I used to love them. And the bowling pub where if you went in there from about an hour before kick-off, it was so raucous, people singing, chanting, packed, rammed full, pool table covered, beer flying everywhere, which I always try to avoid because I've never understood why people get excited about getting beer over them. But a great atmosphere. You know, that last game at Upton Park, you know, everybody out there from stupid o'clock in the morning, couldn't have scripted it any better. You know, and all the memorabilia that we were taking out. And can you remember that sign, the Trevor Brooking Lower, I think it was, someone trying to get it onto the tube. A massive sign, could hardly fit it on. So, yes, I've still got my seat and my daughter's seat. I paid 50 quid for it. Why, I don't know, because it's in the garage. But fond memories. Come on,
memories of Upton Park. So I'm going to take you back to May 2004 and the second leg of the playoff final at home to Ipswich Town. We were 1-0 down from the first leg and we brought them back to Upton Park, and Alan Pardew really earned his stripes that night. He understood what it was to get inside the heads of the West Ham fans. Everything he did around that game to bring him back, like the original band that came out at the start. But we were hyped. We were seriously hyped up for that game. And I've got to say, it's probably the best experience, even better than the last night. It was the best experience I've ever seen at Upton Park. It was so loud. We were 2 games away from being back in the big time. You know, just get past Ipswich, you know, quick final, and then we'd be back in the Premier League again. Didn't quite work out like that, but that night worked out exactly to plan. Half an hour before the game started, and when do you see this, right? Half an hour before the game started, the ground was packed to the rafters. The singing was loud, deep, hearty singing, right? It went on for the whole 90 minutes and it was still going half hour after it finished. But anyway, the bit that I remember specifically, the massive part, was the goal that brought us back into it. It was Matty Everington, and what happened was a short corner was played to Matty Everington. He took a few steps inside and he fired this ball diagonally into the corner of the Bobby Moore net, smashed it in, and it was right in line with my seat, Well, that place just erupted, and it erupted even more in the second half when Christian Daly got the winner when it happened to fall at his feet. What a brilliant night. The best atmosphere I've ever seen at Upton Park, bar none. And I know, like I said, the last night pushes it close, but that was Upton Park at its best. Nowhere could beat that place when it was bouncing. Anyway, that's...
Hi there, you'll have to excuse the voice. I still haven't recovered from the weekend with the festivities and the shouting at the TV for the game. One of my favourite memories from Upton Park, it goes way back to the early 90s, the BAC Windows era. Me and my stepbrother went up there on the train, and we used to just go up there from Maidstone, get the train up there and just go into the South Bank for a game. On the way up there, a bird decided to do its business on my stepbrother at Victoria Station, and a few Hammers fans behind us said, "Oh, that's lucky, boys, that's lucky." As it turned out, we beat Hull 7-1 that day, and we got to see Steve Potts score his only goal for the club. So how was about that? Loved that stadium, loved the atmosphere in the South Bank, and I really do miss it. Come on, you Irons.
Cool, bloody hell. Memories of Upton Park. I mean, where do you start? Where do you start with that? Obviously, it's where most of us fell in love with West Ham. Me, myself, it kind of brings home memories of going to football with my dad. Mine and Gary's dad, who sadly passed away. He just missed the 15-16 season. He would have absolutely loved that. I sat in various places over Upton Park. I had seasons in the lower Bobby Moore, in the East Stand, the West Stand. I sat all over the place. Predominantly in the Bobby Moore lower. That's where most of my best memories are from. However, having said that, I was in the West Upper for the final season, which probably is one of my favourite seasons ever, because I got to experience that with both of my sons, and that was definitely something special. But yeah, memories. Where do you start? I mean, for me, a lot of people are going to have touched on it already. I mean, there are so many games to choose from, so many games. And when you think back and you look back at some of the games now, sometimes the highlight clips don't do your memories justice, because you remember it differently. Sometimes you remember the goals being a little bit better than they were and stuff like that. But that's because you were so invested and you were so involved back then, and it was so special to you. You've had so many heroes over the time. You always associate kind of talisman to West Ham. The likes of Paolo Di Canio, absolutely loved following West Ham throughout that period with him. Watching all the youth players come through in that era under Harry Redknapp as well. There was some really, really special times. I enjoyed the Pardew era as well. The cup final, the journey to the cup final anyway. But at Upton Park, what would be? Look, the final night for me will always be my favourite. I think it will always be my favourite. So I'm not going to talk about that in too much detail. And I know a few other people are sort of talking about specific nights. One of the best nights that I had was when I was working in Liverpool Street in Broadgate, and I went with my boss at the time, Tony Penny, who's a season ticket holder, still goes over there now, lovely guy. And we went to that game, and we were sat in the Bobby Moore lower, just behind the goal to the left, and that was a night where Adrian scored his penalty. It was fucking amazing. What an amazing evening that was. The atmosphere was fantastic. Any game under the lights is always special, but it always felt more special at Upton Park. It was tremendous. It really, really was. But yeah, like I say, talisman. Payet, Di Canio, Tevez. There's been so many of them. And when you go back and you sort of dig into your memory, we've had so many great players as well. So many great players. So many people that we've idolised over the years. But for me, that place, people say it's not the place, it's the people, it's the team. It is the place. That was so special. That was kind of, my heart still aches now thinking about that. You know, I do sometimes revisit, you know, Iron Men, you know, the video from the final. Well, it's not around the final game, it's about the final season, but it kind of makes the hair stand up on the back of my neck and it brings it all flooding back. And it does. There is still an ache in my heart, really, and I don't think that'll ever go away because it will never be the same. Doesn't mean I'm never going to. I don't love West Ham or anything like that. But it just, I don't know. It's like losing someone you love. It's like something's gone, and you had to experience it to understand it, really. Because, like I say, that was what we all fell in love with. You know, everything to do with the experience going out over at Upton Park. It was such a lovely community. Everything about the match day experience, it was second to none. It was fantastic, and it was a brilliant thing to be part of. And I hope that one day we do genuinely feel the same. I hope I feel the same. I'd like to get that feeling back, how I used to feel going to a game over at Upton Park. And look, looking at it through rose-tinted glasses, I accept it weren't always like that. We had some really crap times over there. Of course we did. But the highs were unbelievable. And yeah, so too many to mention for me. But yeah, if I had to pick one out, that Everton game, you know, the cup game where Adrian pops that penalty in, you know, takes his gloves off on a run up and almost fluffs the penalty afterwards, but he don't. It goes in, and we all go mad as we always do. So yeah, look, that's my memories. It's such a shame, but we'll always remember it. It'll always be part of our history. Yeah, on to the next one.